Hi everyone, welcome to this new video from Not Real Engineering, and in this video we are going to see how to use rigid elements in Abaqus. And as always, let's quickly talk about the theory behind rigid elements. Let's say you want to model some part whose stiffness is much higher compared to all other parts in your model. In that case, we can assume that part as a rigid body. Rigid body is nothing but material with infinite stiffness, and if stiffness is infinite, it can't undergo any deformation. Hence, if we plot a stress strain graph for a rigid body, it will look something like this. Strain will be always zero, although stress goes to infinity. Of course, no real body is rigid body, but in many applications it turns out to be very good assumption to simplify the model. When there is no deformation, only translation and rotation will be calculated. Some applications of this are mentioned over here. Many times we model tools as a rigid body, let's say stamping, punching. So the tools which are operating against the part, those tools can be assumed as rigid body. And other examples can be indenters, supports, fixtures. And the only reason we are doing this is to reduce the computational cost. Definitely you can model that rigid body as a deformable body and still get the answers. But in this case, you will get pretty reasonable answers and computational cost will be reduced drastically. Then why not? To do this in Abaqus, we have two options. One is something called analytical rigid body and another is discrete rigid body. We will see the difference between two in the next slide. But in both cases, we always need something called reference point to apply boundary conditions and to control the motion of that rigid body. Now back to analytical and discrete rigid. Let's say if you have some shape which you want to model as a rigid body, if this shape is standard enough, like a circle or cylinder or a sphere, then you can define that as analytical rigid body. Basically, something you can define with analytical formula is your analytical rigid body. But if the shape is too complex, you can't define it using simple analytical equations, then you have to define it as a discrete rigid body. And when you define discrete rigid body, you have to mesh it. For analytical, we don't need meshing, but in case of discrete, we will need meshing. So you can already see the pros and cons of these, right? As you need meshing in discrete, the results will depend on mesh. But in case of analytical, it is perfectly smooth. Hence, you will get better results. Speed-wise, discrete will be slower, analytical will be faster. We already mentioned accuracy will be high in case of analytical. But the only upside for discrete is you can represent complex geometries. This is specifically true if you want to import some CAD model from other software where you have some complex tool or a shape of micro indenter you scanned using some imaging technique. Then in that case, you will need discrete rigid body. And for both, we need a reference point. These are just some examples when to use analytical versus discrete. The takeaway is whenever geometry is complex, go with discrete rigid body, and whenever it is simple enough, go with analytical rigid. Now let's solve one example and see exactly how it is done. This is the example we are going to discuss. We have one substrate which will be the deformable body, and then we will have one indenter which will be rigid body. As this model is symmetric about center axis, we will go with its axisymmetric representation, which is shown over here. All the dimensions are given. We will fix the bottom surface of substrate and then indent it using this spherical indenter by applying some displacement in negative y direction. For substrate, we will assume material as copper with a simple elastic plastic model. Hence, Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio is given over here. And for plasticity, we will define initial yield as 300 megapascal and the hardening will be defined by this table. Now, as we discussed before, this is a spherical surface. So definitely we can model this using analytical rigid body, but I'm going to use discrete rigid anyway because I gave title to this video as how to use rigid elements in Abaqus. So use rigid elements, you have to have discrete body. But in the same way, you can do this with analytical body as well. Maybe that we can show in a separate video in the future. And now let's start with Abaqus CAE. First, set your working directory and then we will start with modeling part. I'm going to create substrate first. So let me name it substrate. And as we saw, we will do it in axisymmetric formulation. This is going to be deformable. So say continue. Let's draw a rectangle over here. We can directly enter coordinates, so we don't have to change dimensions later on. Hence for opposite corner, I will choose 12.5, 25. That's it. Done. Substrate is ready. And now the indenter. For that, I will go with discrete rigid. Let me name this as indenter. See, continue. We have two options now. We can either draw indenter here and then in assembly move it up so that it will match the top surface of the substrate, or we can just directly draw it over here. Then in assembly, we don't have to do anything. Hence, let's go ahead with that. And to draw that, we will use create arc button. First, it's center point. We know the radius of indenter is 5.6 millimeter and height of substrate is 25 millimeter. Hence, center point will be 0, 25 plus 5.6, 30.6. Now the first point should start from here, and let's start with 90-degree arc. So up to here. Now we have to define the radius. For that, I will just choose dimension and give distance between these 2 points. It is 5.6. The next part is not necessary, but if you want to make this distance as 4 millimeter, you can adjust the location of your second point, something like dimension from here to here. This can be 4. But it is not going to matter because we are not indenting that deep, but it's always good to know. So we are done with indenter. Next, let's go to property and create our material copper. First, elastic. Young's modulus is 100 gigapascal, so we have to convert that to megapascal. Poisson's ratio 0.3. Next, plasticity, and here we will just enter that table what we had. And done. Create a section. And we have to assign the section to our substrate. So let's do that. Done. Next, assembly. We don't have to move any part over here. Just take both parts. Say OK. And you can see the location of indenter is correct with respect to substrate. Next, let's go to step. Create one step. Let's keep it static general. Here I am not going to change much. The only thing we will do is turn this on, so it will consider nonlinear effects. And for automatic stabilization, we can use some dissipated energy fraction. Keep these values as default. It's just because we have plasticity, so this will help in convergence. I'm going to keep this as automatic, but maybe let's increase this a little bit. Let's decrease this initial to 0.01. I think this should be enough. Next is interaction. We have to define the contact between both of them. Let's go with standard surface to surface contact. First, we have to select the master surface. I'm going to select that as indenter. Say done. We have to choose the side as well. We want this yellow side. So let's choose yellow. For slave, again, we will use surface and we will choose this one. We will keep everything over here to default. Only thing is we have to create one interaction property. Let's go ahead and create that. Contact, mechanical, tangential behavior I am going to keep frictionless, and for normal behavior we will keep hard contact. That's it. Let's say OK. That property is chosen. Say OK. Now before we go to load, remember we have to define a reference point for our rigid body. So let's do that first. For that, go back to this indenter. Now in tools, go to reference point, and you can either choose point over here or enter the coordinates. I can choose this point. It can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be at the center of this curvature, but let's choose that. It looks nice. And now if you go over here, you will see one more reference point. Now let's go to load. First, I'm going to fix this bottom surface. Let's just fix it in U2 direction. That should be enough. And next, apply displacement boundary condition on this reference point. For that, I will name it as indent. We have to choose this reference point. We don't want to move it in X direction, and in Y direction, let's indent by 2 millimeter. It has to be -2 so that it will indent the substrate, and this also we can keep it 0. Next is mesh. Let's mesh it on part. As we are using discrete rigid body, mesh is compulsory. Let's apply seed first. If you see this seed, the element size is huge, and let me reduce it a little bit, maybe 0.3. Looks much better. Say OK, mesh. Yes. Now this part is meshed. You want to make sure this has rigid elements. For that, let's go to mesh, element type, and over here it says discrete rigid elements. Element type is given over here. Most of the time Abaqus will have it right, but just to make sure it has rigid elements. Next, let's mesh the substrate. Here as well, we can use the mesh of 0.3. But if we use that, you can see unnecessary, we will have very fine mesh in this area, which we don't want. So instead of this, let's seed the edges and do a bias seeding. I will choose bias as single. And when we do that, we can control the element size along this direction. The minimum size is 0.06, maximum is 0.3. If you click apply, you will see how the elements will get finer as you go in this direction. We want opposite, so let's flip the direction. And I think this is too fine, so let's make it 0.1. And as it goes away, let's make it 1. Let's see how that looks. I think this is good. Say OK. And we can use similar thing for this vertical edge as well. And say OK. So let's see these edges as well with the same thing what we did, but this in other direction, and the bottom one as well. I think this one should look good. Let's mesh it. Yep, this is better. So we have finer elements over here, and as we move away, we have bigger elements. We have some elements with huge aspect ratio over here, but this is away from contact, so I don't think it will matter. Make sure element type is correct. We have axisymmetric stress, radius integration is on, and this is the element type. So say OK. I think we are done with everything. We just have to create a job and submit it. Because of plasticity, it will take some time. Let me put my favorite meme over here.
2 hours later.
And we are done. Let's see the results. Elements are getting too distorted over here. Hence, to better result, I guess we have to use adaptive remeshing. But that's a topic for another video. We can see displacement, elastic strain, and even plastic strain. So material did deform plastically. One quick thing I want to show is, if you want to see these results in 3D, you can do that very easily. Just go to view and then ODB display option, go to sweep or extrude, and then you have to sweep these elements from 0 to 360. And maybe number of segments, let's increase it to 50 and say apply. And just like that, you have your 3D representation. Anyway, so that's how to use rigid elements. That's all for this video. If you like this video, please show your support by subscribing to this channel, which will give me motivation to create more educational videos like these. You can also go to channel's playlist tab, and here you can see all the videos with similar topics combined together. For example, let's say if you're interested in ANSYS tutorials, you can go to this ANSYS tutorial playlist and see all the videos from this playlist. All the codes and files which I use for these videos are also available for you to directly download from this channel's GitHub profile. The link of this profile is given in the description box below. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.